Hello there, this is Matt again. I guess this is my second podcast episode, such as it is. I just thought I'd share one of my poems with you. I'm just sitting here with my cat Franny in my lap. It's about close to 1:30 in the morning, so, but I thought I'd share one of my earliest poems, which I wrote back in high school. It's called Where I'm From, and maybe after I read that to you, I can share some thoughts on it. Here goes. I'm from toy cars, from Velcro shoes, from picture books and old cartoons. When I sat by the window in the corner, in myself, destined to dream, as the past rolls in, I see the scene. My back to the wall, hounded by bullies and by fate, while striving and yearning to rise up and penetrate, to seed these abstract motions in a concrete state. But time, oh time, would not abate. For a black dog, or for birch trees, for cherished blankets, or for open seas, not by mother's approval, nor by father's decree, not by way of a shooting star, and not for me. I'm from ambient sound, living by a Walkman as I walk, from cold eyes and crazy talk, when I strolled in moon shadows and dapples of rain, riding by a lamp's light, looking for answers in the quiet of the night. When I watch the stars sink and fade in the astronomer's sky, up there above the clouds where dreams and rockets fly, and as I look up, my heart begins to cry for some escape from the splinter in my mind's eye. That thought, that feeling I can't explain, a desperate mix and match of longing and of pain, so strong, and I've tried to walk away, and yet it remains day after day after day. I'm from lies that teachers tell, from demons cackling in some imagined hell, and now I lay me down in the forests of my soul, facing down all this madness to reach some distant hope, some far-off goal. And not for Socrates, not for Newton, not for Jesus and his crew. I'm just looking for what's real, what I can touch and feel, and I'm waiting for you to open the door and step on through, to bring it all out of the box and out of the blue. The blue, behind the cascading waters where I sat and ate my lunch, and coming to the throne of my darkness, I throw a punch, for a boy who walks to the beat of a different drum. And this is where I'm from, where I'm from. So, like I said, I wrote this poem back when I was in high school. The strange thing was I actually wrote it in a science class, of all places. I had a teacher, her name was Miss Degner, I think, and she actually made it an assignment at the beginning of our class, beginning of the year, as a way of us getting to know one another. We would write a poem about our lives, and it was actually based on a poem called it Where I'm From. I can't remember the author's name at the moment, but there was a certain structure to it, and we would try to write our own poem within that structure, and it was basically supposed to be a poem expressing, where we'd come from, just talking about our life. And I kind of went to town with it because, you know, I was an aspiring writer, and something about it just kind of grabbed me. So I think I got an A on it, even though it wasn't a major assignment or anything. And the funny thing was I didn't do very well in that class because I'm not really great with science, but that was one of the few assignments I did really well on. And but anyway, I thought before I talk about the poem itself, I thought I'd share a story about Miss Stegner. Even though I didn't do that well in that class, I connected with her a little bit, and I remember the most vivid memory I have of her. Sorry, that's Franny. She decided to get up and scratch herself. Anyway, my most vivid memory of her was, I remember one. I think it was actually the last day of the school year, and I had a habit of going in and talking to my teachers after the school day ended. You know, I would just kind of hang out and chat with them. Sometimes I got along better with my teachers than I did with, you know, the other students. So I remember going in. I think it was actually her last day. She was going to be moving, I think, and maybe moving to another state or getting a different kind of job. I can't remember, but it was actually her last day. And I remember we kind of were just talking about life, you know, and I think this was when I was probably about 18, and so we were just kind of, you know, just having a pretty real conversation, you know, and she talked about the death of her brother and how it really affected her, and she even said, you know, it was pretty fucked up. She used those exact words, which I remember at the time I thought, or maybe not at the time, but looking back, I kind of felt that it was pretty cool that even though I was still kind of just a kid, that, you know, she on some level treated me as an adult and spoke so plainly about her life with me. You know, it made me feel more grown up. It was like she was kind of vulnerable in that way, and I thought that was meaningful and pretty cool, you know. But yeah, she was a pretty cool lady, and I you know, haven't talked to her since, and I hope she's doing well. Anyway, about the poem, there were a lot of memories that I drew from when I was writing that, and like I said, I've made a couple changes to it over the years, but I haven't. I'm someone I actually do a lot of revision on my poetry, on most of my poems. There's some of them that I'll drastically change. But this one I haven't made a lot of changes to because I didn't really feel like it needed it. Maybe just kind of rewording something a little bit here and there, but the structure and the content of it is mostly the same as it was when I first wrote it. Anyway, there's images of memories from my childhood, like playing with Hot Wheels, or how I couldn't tie my shoes until I was in my early teens, so I wore Velcros, or reading old Childcraft encyclopedia books, or watching classic 80s cartoons like Transformers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, and then sitting by the window at night, looking out the second story window, like I talked about in my first episode, you know, when I would think and wonder about life and that sort of thing. And then the black dog was our dog Katie, we, eventually she got sick and we had to put her down, and we have this place, out in the woods that we buried her, and I still remember that day pretty vividly. And then the birch trees were they in our front yard and our backyard, and but we eventually had to move out of that house, and then the Raggedy Ann blanket. I had this Raggedy Ann security blanket. I was kind of like Linus and Peanuts, and but eventually it got so ragged, Raggedy Ann, it fell apart and I couldn't use it anymore, and then trips to the beach, and that only lasted for so long. So there were, I was kind of saying, that those things, unfortunately, they don't last, and they come and go, and and then things like, the walks I had during my teens and 20s, listening to my music when I'm deep in thought. And then there was the, I might talk about it more in another podcast, but when I was about 19, I had this crazy dream about hell that the same night that my parents split up. So I had all these different memories. The last memory, kind of the last one I focused on in the last lines of the poem, was memories I have of this place called Ponytail Falls, which is located in the Columbia River Gorge here in Oregon. And it's this beautiful waterfall you can go behind. Like, there's this cave or dugout area that goes behind it, and there's boulders where you can actually sit and take a break and watch the water just cascade down into the pool beneath. And I remember I would go there with my family or some friends, and we would sit behind the waterfall and eat our lunch, and I just remember feeling really happy in those times. Like there was light, in those moments, and so those are some of my fondest memories that are meaningful to me. Anyway, I think it's one of the favorite poems of mine that I've written, one that I feel most proud of, and it's, kind of probably one of the best things I have as far as something that I've written that kind of gives a feeling of where I was at a different time. And then even then, that was me looking back, and over the years I've kind of added in a little bit of what I had gone through after that point. But even then, I had, when I was about, I think I probably wrote that when I was anywhere between 16 and 18, and I was having those kinds of thoughts about just the struggle of life, and the impermanence of things, how nothing really lasts forever, but at the same time there's meaning in the moment, and just that desire to find light and to push back the darkness as best you can. Like that, how I said that coming to the throne of my darkness, I throw a punch. That's, I guess, my way of saying that I'm trying to push back the darkness in life and in myself. And, and I'm kind of that boy who walks to the beat of a different drum. That I've always felt kind of different. And, but, I just wanted to share some thoughts on that, and obviously poetry is one of those things that, you can find your own meaning in it, and, and if anyone who reads it or listens to it finds a different meaning in it for them, that's cool too, I hope I can share some more of my poetry in the future here. I've even had people over the years ask me to actually read my poetry, not just share it in writing, but like they say, there's almost something about, being able to hear the writer actually, verbally share it. Like something can come across in that way that wouldn't otherwise. And I guess that kind of makes sense in a way. But, then again, I don't feel like I'm the greatest writer or poet in the world, and there's some things I've written I feel good about, but a lot of it I struggle with, but then again, we're our own worst critic, so I guess I just kind of put it out there and hope that it speaks to someone, because I've had a lot of things that I've read or listened to or that have meant something to me, so I just hope I can put things out there that will mean something to someone else. Well, anyways, I don't want to ramble too much, so I think I'll leave it at that. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope whoever is listening that you're doing okay in spite of everything that's going on, and have a good night.